Welcome back to Today on Bay TV. I'm Gaynor Morgan. I'm joined by Conservative Councillor Tom Giffard, and also with us is Swansea Estate Agent Chris Hope. Thank you both very much for staying with us. I think one thing that you've probably got in common is, to an extent, housing, or the link between you is housing. Obviously, Chris, you've got Dawsons Estate Agents, and I think, Tom, you live in, it was once the biggest private housing estate in Europe, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah. Cllr in Bridgend, yeah, was once the biggest housing estate in Europe. I think it's still the biggest housing estate in the UK. It's about 12,000 people in total, actually, on one site, if you like. So it's quite a, it's a community in and of itself.
It's a little town, really,
yes.
now. Since it's got a shopping centre. I've been to the chiropractor there. I think it's got a dentist, a church.
Yeah, it's got the vets and everything, really. I know, and the co-op, and I know a lot of people just can do their shopping and not actually leave the estate. Yes, it's a really fascinating place. I only moved there a few years ago, originally from Swansea, and there's a real sense of community there because, as you say, it's all quite self-contained as well.
Chris,
I was going to say that Coed Darcy was going to be the new version of that a few years ago, back in about 2004, 2006. But unfortunately, the crash came 2007, 2008, and that put stop to that, because that was going to be the development of schools and shops and everything else that was there, a heart of the development.
I never really think of that as associated with Swansea. You see it from the motorway, of course, but of course it is a part of Swansea. How is it developing? It's
very slow now, unfortunately, because, of course, financially, a lot of the developers...
Prince of Wales initiative, isn't it?
Exactly. A lot of the developers, unfortunately, took a big hit. And it's too big for one big company to take the whole thing over. They'd get bored very quickly of it, and it would lose its appeal. So you need different styles, different trends, different reasons as to what it's there for, not just sizes of houses. So
has the sort of time or the era of these big new developments, sort of mini towns, passed?
Personally, I think it has, because I think that the risks of the development time, whereas before maybe 10, 15 years between problems, now every 4 or 5 years there's a little mini problem, and it's the financial world that creates it. And developers are very conscious of not financing too much of a mouthful which they can't chew off and bite.
So what is the answer to the housing crisis, certainly in this part of the world?
Planners allowing more planning is the short answer. From my point of view, that's easy for me to say, but we just need more housing. The stocks, all agents are the same thing. They've all got far less stock of available properties now than we've had for 10, 15, 20 years.
Well, I've got to be in my bonnet that we should be looking for more innovative ways of housing people and being housed properly and well and decently. But it really upsets me that all this good land is being built on, because it's easier, cheaper to build on. And we've got to eat as well.
That's very true. And whether we end up going more European, where properties in France and Italy and everywhere else go up. If you want to extend your house, you put a whole floor in it. But in this day and age, with building regs and so on, unless the foundations are capable of taking it, and a lot of overseas, the climate is better to build timber frame properties instead of having solid concrete and the weight. So yes, we seem to spread out that way rather than up this way.
What's that, I think, Tom? What's
I agree with you. You shouldn't necessarily be building on green land. I'm from Pentligare originally, and you look at that area over time, and it's exploded. And you're almost now in a situation where neighbouring areas like Gorsinan and Pontllew and Pontedelice are all becoming one big community, because the bits in between are all being filled with houses as well. So it's a bit of a worry, really. In that sense.
Well, we'll have to leave that to certainly better brains than mine to sort out, but I think it is an issue. Chris, you're very keen, aren't you, on sort of building more links with local businesses? That's you as your firm, Dawsons?
Yes, my colleagues will be coming to talk a bit more about it, but yes, it started off to be an internal, we wanted to reward the staff as part of a nice reason to be in the company as well. So we spoke with 4 or 5 to start off with a nucleus of companies who were happy to give a discount in some shape or form to Dawsons staff, and then we thought, well, we'd like to move that on to our landlords, our tenants, our buyers, our sellers. So we have literally just launched, and there's some very nice, good companies, Exeter & Jones, the Optimist Bar in Uplands, Nick John Wine Merchants, various different people, storage companies, who are all just hoping to get more people to see them and use them and spread the word. So
what should people look out for if they're interested?
There's a Dawsons reward card where we will be writing to all of our landlords and tenants and buyers and sellers to say, look, because you're one of our clients, please come in and pick it up and have the benefit of the discounts that all these companies will provide. There's been such an interest, even though it's only literally 72 hours since we've launched it, but a lot of other companies have said, Chris, do you mind, or Ricky, do you mind if we can join on the next time? So we'll relaunch it again in about 4 to 6 weeks' time with new companies who are offering other deals to help the public, give them a discount to go and see them and
now this started with you wanting to look after your staff. How many people are you employing?
We employed around about 130 staff, and it was a way of, on top of this, what we do as a daytime work and everything else, and we really appreciated that people stay with us a long time, but we thought, how can we just give something back to the staff extra other than just their salary? And this was
why did you want to do this in an era of 0 hours and people not looking after their staff?
I think employers have got a
it's almost an old-fashioned concept.
Yeah, truthfully, I suppose it's rebranded and brought out and repolished, but it really is important the staff, for longevity of them staying with the company as well, sort of look forward to doing their job, and they get those extra additions and benefits, not just getting paid at the end of the month. So it was nice to introduce our clients and our own staff, in that sense, to local businesses where they may have seen them open but not too sure what they do. And so a bit like our friend at the Maritime Quarter, it's probably one of our hidden gems, and I know that a lot of people know about it, but more people need to go down there.
Tom Giffard, I think we should have a happiness barometer. I know so many people who dread and hate going to work, and all these 0 hours. You know, so many of my children's younger friends and the like, they really are in quite a trap in work and such. Can't you filter something like this back up through the...
Can I just say on the local business thing to start with, I think that's a fantastic idea. In this age of large companies and corporations, actually local businesses working together for a common goal is, I think, the way forward, really. In terms of work, actually, we've got more people in work than ever before, and that
they're not all happy though, are they?
Is anybody ever really happy?
Yes, of course, you should be happy going to work. I'm happy coming to work.
Oh, well, I enjoy my job, but there are plenty of people who don't, and that's totally understandable. And I think the 0 hours contracts, which you brought up, I used to have a 0 hours contract. I used to work in the Domino's in Swansea City Centre, and it was fantastic because as I was a student, it meant I could choose to work the hours that I wanted, and then I've had
it's a slightly different scenario, isn't it?
Totally, and I think the circumstances where people want them, they should be there. I think, the Labour Party, we've seen their policies to outlaw them completely. I don't think that would suit. But yeah, no, you're right. Where people want a reliable and steady income, they shouldn't be used as a first port of call.
It's nice to see people.
There's create an opportunity, though, at the same time, whether you would like to take it or whether you don't. It is an additional opportunity, really. I
think there's less choice in the Labour market now. What are the issues facing the Conservative Party in Wales? You actually work for the Conservative Party. You're a Conservative councillor for your ward in Cllr, and you head up the...
I'm the group leader for Bridge End Council as well. So, many hats.
So what are the issues?
With the Conservative Party generally? In Wales. In Wales. So at the moment, obviously we've just come off the back of quite a disappointing general election result.
One way of putting it.
To put it lightly.
At the conference.
I was, I was quite heavily involved in 2015 in Byron Davis's campaign, and it's obviously a shame that he didn't get back in.
That was then.
In the Gower constituency. It's about moving forward now. Reflecting on the lessons that we learned in June in the general election.
Too long.
And putting forward a positive vision and moving forward.
Chris, what do you want from them? This is your ideal moment.
Yeah, good question. I just think we just need. There are times there's lots of talk, and we just need steps taken. We've mentioned it on the last programme we were on. The tidal lagoon. It really needs somebody to stand up and have some bite, not just a voice. They need some bite. And unfortunately, my biggest concern is that government at the very top level, they're just not going to see it as being a necessity, whereas we do for our piece of our lives and so on. It'd be a huge advantage. Huge advantage.
The lagoon, Tom.
Yes, I and I think 10 other council group leaders from across South Wales signed a letter to the Prime Minister urging her to fund the tidal lagoon because we recognise it's about 3 weeks ago.
You need to threaten another one.
Because we recognise the importance of it, and as a Welsh Conservative Party, we're all for it.
Mm-hmm. Anything else in terms of the housing market that you'd like to see the Conservatives in Wales take a lead on?
I think there's a bit of a danger to have any radical major changes. I think we just need to sort of direct more traffic and create just more properties. It's
innovatively.
Very hard. Yes, it is.
Not on green land.
There's no one answer fits all, truthfully. But people have to work together, and we really do have to work together.
That's the answer to it, isn't it? Everybody
Absolutely.
working together. Well, thank you so much. I think we've had a good run through quite a lot of issues, so thank you. And we'll see you after the break. Thank you. Welcome back to Today on Bay TV. I'm Gaynor Morgan and I'm joined by Dawsons estate agents Chris Hope and Ricky Purdy. And Ricky, I think you're Director of Lettings.
Indeed, yes, Director of Lettings.
Yes, but you're also very heavily involved with this staff welfare scheme.
Yeah, I think it's, as Chris has touched on previously, very important that the staff, we've got an awful lot of them now, getting bigger as time goes on, have a very enjoyable and sort of pleasant place to work, and sort of benefit from the incentives that we can give them, or the offers that we can give them to use. So. It's
almost a novel concept in this day and age, and yet it's a very old-fashioned system as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's the gestures go a long way, as Chris touched on. It's not necessarily the monetary aspect of it. It's just things that could be a little bit more personal or individual to a team, or to a staff member themselves. So yeah, we want to sort of keep it very personal, keep it very sort of local, and not corporate, maybe, as it's
yes, it keys Dawsons even more firmly, because it's very firmly embedded anyway in the city and in the local area.
Yeah, we want to be an attractive place for people to want to come and work, really. So we want to put that image and that sort of impression out there to possibly new staff members, as well as sort of have the current staff members benefit as well. So.
I think being a medium-sized company, keeping staff and longevity rather than people looking for different jobs, being happy in your role is just such an important thing for employers to be dealing with.
Why is that so important, Chris?
I think at the end of the day, there's nothing worse than 6:30, 7 o'clock, your alarm going off, thinking, I'm going to go to work today. Whereas I genuinely believe that a big chunk of our office, not every single person, but actually look forward to, because their offices are clean, tidy. They've got a lot of reasonably good technology. They've got good management. They have their lunch breaks. They've got a nice kitchen to work in and eat food and so on. And they get a lot of recognition, I think, from their peers if emails go out, or just, we've had a great weekend and that person was very helpful. Not necessarily always on a sales aspect. It's more a case of how helpful the individuals have been to their work colleagues. And we brought, Ricky's idea was in fairness to bring the reward card in-house, but we've soon thought, well, there's a lot of advantages for our clients as well, and before you know it, it'll be rolled out to 2,000 or 3,000 people probably.
It's all about being fulfilled in work, isn't it? So it was actually your baby in the first place?
Yeah, something that we touched on.
Where did you take the inspiration from?
It would have just, again, incentives to people that sort of warrant that sort of little bit of appreciation, really. So, things which we've touched on, making the benefits of working for us different from the norm, and then it's just grown from there, really, sort of organically, and we've put a lot more time and effort into it through the summer months, so we could launch it this month. And again, they will benefit each other. So the more the card is in the public domain and the more customers use it, the more of an appeal it will be to additional companies, local, independent, sort of like-minded companies to be part of it. So our staff benefit from even more discounts. And
how's it being received by the other companies involved?
Really, really well. We were very selective over the companies that we wanted to be involved in it. So we wanted, companies to be local, to be very reputable, to be sort of, a mix of industries, so that we could really see, a mix of uses for the staff and the tenants. So they've really bought into it. They've helped us sort of with the planning and the launch of it, and yeah, they're already seeing the benefits of additional custom, let's say, in this first week to 10 days. So really, really well.
It's very refreshing, isn't it, to get away from, well, you would think so, I'm sure, from this sort of global corporate image where, there are faceless bosses and shareholders and all the rest of it. I
think that, businesses of our size have a very fine balance between being owner-owned, private owner-owned in that sense, and having the corporate ideals of growth for the business. But in fairness to clothes shops, Jones in Mumbles, Yankee Candles, Eggleston & Jones, Builders Merchants, Optimist, Nick John Wine Merchants, as Ricky said, it's a nice varied base. And we really hope that, as I said, our clients, our staff have already used them. We are hoping, though, by the time of our 1,000 sort of property owners, and then all the buyers that come with it, all our applicants, our landlords, our tenants, we want them to use it and have an advantage of being associated with our business.
It means that the money earned in Swansea tends to stay in Swansea.
Exactly.
And that's so important, isn't it?
That's key for us, keeping it local and keeping them sort of independent. So we've got some very well-known brands, but on a local basis. So yeah, it's and
so it's particularly pertinent, really, within the lettings part of the business, and you're lettings director. How is that part of the business going at the moment?
Very, very well. It's extremely busy. We've had a very, very good year, and we're sort of quietening down naturally now through the season and heading into November. But as Chris touched on previously it's the supply and demand, so what's available there.
So is there enough supply?
At the moment, no, is the short answer. For accommodation of any size and any area within our postcodes, yeah, they're really at a premium. So it's a very good time to be a landlord, and a tenants, or from a tenant's perspective, they've got to act very, very quickly to find something that they think is for them. So yeah, it's a good time.
What influence does the student element have on the housing stock?
On the rental housing stock? Well, I think since with Trinity St David's as well as the university, their growth is phenomenal, and there's no question we just haven't, as a housing stock, been able to keep track of it at all. Which is why all these developments are taking place probably on the outskirts of town, and the students still really want to be local to city centre.
Yeah.
They haven't been quite as keen, in my opinion, to be further out of Swansea in that sense.
I can remember when my daughter was a student in Cardiff. She had a flat within 100 yards or something of Starving Jacks or something. Pub in Cardiff, and that was,
It's no different than today.
No, it's a social element, effectively. You've got three or four key areas in Uplands and Bryn Mill and Bryn Mawr and the city centre.
So much of it. It's a very important part of the student experience, isn't it?
Definitely. It's a big attraction to what, brings a student to Swansea. Obviously the sort of academic side of things, but the sort of, the social side of their time in Swansea is really important. That's a big pull for them.
What about the quality of the accommodation?
Just about to lead on to that, because that's the biggest change, truthfully. 15, 20 years ago, very straightforward.
It was often rubbish, wasn't it?
It was. You had too many Dickensian landlords where you'd have fish running up the walls and so on. It was dreadful. But in fairness, with the council's involvement, and in particular, I think that parents of the children, they come down saying, you're not going to move into that. Yeah. No, I'd rather pay more money. And certainly now the housing stock is far better, the quality's better. They've all got their plasma TVs and their Wi-Fi and better quality, and they change the beds every season and so on. And those landlords are reaping the rewards. People will pay more money for a better quality, without doubt.
What about, generally speaking, I mean, in a sense, rented accommodation has a bad name. What's the quality of the rented accommodation?
I think that's a little unfair, truthfully, in recent years. I mean, we've had licensing and mandatory licensing and registration for landlords this 12 months now, as of next month. So that's really sort of encouraged the standards to sort of be increased. And, we're very fortunate that we are selective over the properties and the clients that we tend to sort of, liaise with and sort of and work on behalf of. So, yes, there are some poor properties out there. And
do you set a standard, when you're accepting a property from a landlord?
For sure. Yeah, we want it to be a level that's acceptable regardless of size or location or type of furniture or tenant it would attract. Yeah, we've got a bar that we want to sort of stay above, and that's quite a high bar, truthfully.
The bar, truthfully, though, is all set by people who ring in, and they would like to have this and they'd like to have that. There's no demands, because they can't demand, but their expectations are of what they will pay for is higher and higher, and it does help from a business point of view. I'm sure there are other businesses where if a landlord doesn't deal with a leaky tap today, it becomes a roof down tomorrow. So most of our landlords are very happy that they just allow us to get on with a certain degree of repairs if needed, or upgrades if needed, and repaint and recarpet in between tenants. So we're very happy.
It takes the headaches out of it for the landlord.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's false economy not to, really. So those small problems now, as Chris mentions, will be big in the future. So, the better quality accommodation, the better tenant you'll attract. That's a general rule of thumb and works very, very well for us. And then the snowball effect is the longer they stay, the better they leave it, and standards maintained. So, we're really strong on that, really. And
so just to recap on the rewards card, how do people?
Basically, it's been a client of ours is the immediate sort of clientele and benefit. So as Chris has mentioned, that's going to be released to 2,000 or 3,000 people over the coming weeks for buyers and sellers and tenants and landlords. So they will be able to sort of benefit from the associations we've got, and that will continue. So
hopefully they'll be able to come in, have their card, and we'd just like to use it. We'd just like them to use it. Have the benefit.
Sounds like a great place to work. How do people apply for a job?
They can look on our website. We've got a careers link there, and by all means, we'd welcome sort of applications and interest that we would come back to them on, for sure.
And of course, Swansea's a great place to work, isn't it?
And the football team won.
What more could you want? What more could you want? Well, thank you very much for joining us. It's been very interesting to take a look behind the scenes, really, at the housing market in Swansea. So, and I'd like to thank also all our guests today for joining us. And of course, you at home, where would we be without you? And those online, thank you very much for tuning in. See you tomorrow.